we're here. It's the present moment, the one we're present to. Hello to you when you get to this message, which will be in the now that you're in. And it is time for us to see how multidimensionally we have already been living. Did you ever make the connection between the fact I am here May 22nd at 1:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Ajax, where I get to live my life and not be defined by all the titles, statuses, personages, and identities that I might sometimes relate to or identify as, but I don't necessarily want to be defined as that always, except for a few relational roles that I always wear: daughter, sister, granddaughter, cousin, these niece. These are the titles that I would accept, that I am always relating to, because others, relations, are always seeing me as that in their life as well, within the family structure, which is the identity closest to home. Which is why in The Real Story of Rome, I relay the fact that we were always warned there would be a third world war, and it would be nuclear in nature, but we were never warned of the fact that we would be the ones who actually became part of nuclear family models as the traditional, culturally customary family model, leadership model, structure of a house. And we would not be taught about how important it is to have a manor role or court role of our own. For when we have a court, it's because we are the key player who calls the court into order. And in order to do so, we have to be able to command our hand using the pen that allows us to make claims, take names, and stake our claims in not just the earth that is the real territory and property that we are interchanging, interacting with, interfacing with, and relating on. These are the pieces that we need to get really clear about, because familially, we have a sense of identity. And then every other group that we join in order to gain belonging, we take on identities for as well, for the duration of time that we relate to or identify with that. This is significant because the nuclear war we were not warned about is the nuclear way that we belong within the universe. One song we're all playing along to as characters on the stage of life, who are each the center points, each of us the light that marks a spot on the map of this place to say that we are there, compared to where everyone else is in relation to one another, because that's how we identify and define ourselves, in relation to others, to other things, other people, other nouns. It's important to actually let people know what you're doing, because if you don't, then people generally say, cut myself off of my life because I tried to use too many programs and didn't see the multi-dimensional version of me who can be in multiple worlds. I started with my family identity in relation to others within that blood crew. And then what we've come to see or not see is the not seeing plan that made us believe us to be opposite of them, Who is them but we when we step into those positions and take on the roles? The Nazi plan means we did not see the plan, and so when it was commanded by the hand of a man at the helm, where are you from? I'm in Ajax, it's so fun. Where are you? I'd love to see and also say that we're the ones here to unite, to be the ones who win not the fight for belligerents and wards who don't know how to command their own house are the ones who lose it all by betting the family farm. It is the way that we place our bets and hedge them and then find out we have been betting for the wrong house because we didn't see how jurisdictionally there are layers of identity. I started with the family relations and roles we play within the manner role of life. If you didn't know the importance of having your own manor roll or court roll, you'll absolutely be put on the dole of the manor roll or court roll of a court that has a corpse on the other side of it, calling the moves by the captain of the ship at the helm of our lives. When we don't see, we're the ones who have to take command by using our hand to right the wrongs. X marks the spot because that's where the treasure lies, within the public and private and public. It is true that we are within Hyros Prism. This is an advanced version of Hyros Prison because it's actually just the bottom of the public. The private didn't move down into what's left in the heart, unspoken in the sanctum sanctorum of the heart center of us, the center point of a magnetic field that radiates out what we wish for, which is why hope and faith must not divide us within ourselves. When I was in an expanded state of awareness in 2019, when I called the cops to report the police were in on a job and we were on the lease as the ones who would pay, because we didn't say we were the principal in our own house. So leave that I can get stuck in, claim that spot through the Sestica v. Trust Act in 1666. When they claimed that position and then used the great schism of the West Indies to bring in consumerism and materialism and Marxism and all the things we've come to know, to believe to be so. Well, that's all in Dr. and Mrs. Vander Tramp's house, and if you don't know who they are, well, let me just tell you that anyone can be them, because anyone can be the Dr. or Mrs. who take on the last name, surname, Sunam is how we enter into the tsunami of the world, the axis mundi of the maypole we erected on May 1st. That is where we weaved from the top and bottom to meet in the middle. And because we chose to do so, in a way that respects all that we have in relation to each other. I said that at 10:10, which is my birthday, and I am grateful to have never had to really know whether the day or month came first before the year that's said to be under the Gregorian calendar. That is how we track time. It's the civil standard. It replaced the Julian calendar, except for the East, who maintained that calendar system and then grew the divide between who is who on which side, not seeing the suffix of CIDE added to a word means the death, destruction, or killing of the thing it's attached to. That is 'cause all the sides we choose make us confuse our substance with forms that then become norms, and we think must be right because so many are advocating for that way. You sing like a professional. Can pronounce my name in your song. I could have if I'd have seen your contribution, but because I was singing and needed to stay in flow, I didn't go to the comments to have my flow interrupted until I felt called, which is now. So, if in your request, Sharuya. Sharuya, 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 Sharuya. I don't know if that is the way that you say it, but I tried. So please let me know if you do come back, if you jumped off because I didn't ask or answer before. Well, it was nice to be with you when you were. And Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramps has a lower and upper class, just like on the Titanic, where the lower class got locked down, and that was to ensure that if any rescue boats were to arrive, that it would be the wealthy that were able to survive and get off first. Insanity, it's true that we have been giving away our power, and now it's time for that to stop, to level the playing field. We were getting played by within Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramps house. It is true, at 13 minutes into this, it's about time that I share where we're going as we dare to put the apostrophe in the I am. Possible that small men and women would say is impossible, but I am possible is the way that we step out of that and into being truly empowered. How fun. Okay, so seriously, at 14 minutes into this, I'm going to share the update, ask, and offer, or invite. So here we go. At 14:14, I will begin. Hey, Laura J. here, playing at being present with you, who is on the other side of this screen, it would seem I am playing with right now. And why that's important is because I have been working on the manuscript that I have been writing over the last 3 years that basically traces back the root center point of the Axis Mundi that we actually did a ceremony that we changed to do half from the top and half from the bottom to meet in the middle where there was a ring. And then it was actually men who, after it had just been put onto it, many actually came round and tied. They braided the ribbons that we had done in this ceremony together. And it was just really precious because you wouldn't have thought that or planned for that necessarily. But they saw something that felt fun for them to complete, and so they took on the task and they did a great job. And I got to enjoy it again on Saturday when I went back to the Blue Room in Cobeconk to work in the crystal shop, because there is an opportunity for me to be interacting with people on the days that I do the role. And I love it because I love crystals. I love bringing about energetic shifts in places. And I love the fact there is live music attached to the shop that I am in when I am there. So if you are interested, most Saturdays at the Blue Room in Cobeconk, there is a private event that Kingsley and Christina run where you can come and enjoy live music, great food by donation, $20 for food or live music option if you can, and 40 for both if you want to eat. So, yeah, I didn't say that as I maybe meant to or would have had it been scripted, but it's not because this is live, as will that be. And so we will come together and we will see the maypole in action, because where Jordy created a contraption for it to actually connect to a hang a hook that was already in the ceiling, and then he brought it in and had to trim it a few times in order to get it standing up and braced properly. And I was so grateful to Jordy for helping make that happen. And I didn't express it then because I didn't want to draw attention to him if it wasn't wanted specifically, but it's also the fact that I am so grateful and was so grateful that he came and was part of that, and that I had expressed that to him beforehand but didn't want to impose my will and wishes onto him because he's got a lot on his plate he's working on right now as well. So I didn't want to say you have to come to this maypole event, but it was like, babe, I'd really love if you could, because it is about the unification of the divine masculine and feminine in ceremony, and I'd love for my man to be there with me. So he agreed to come and did, and I was so, so, so grateful to him and all of the others who also came. And to Christina for suggesting it in the first place after having done a similar thing with a group of young women several years ago, that the conversation we had actually reminded her of, which then made her feel great about that which those seeds which she had already sown, and now literally has the maypole in their event space, which is private, I will state again, for those public officials who would be well served to remember we are all able to reserve our right to remain private if we know how to not cap ourselves by a greater house that we allow to douse the flame of passion within our hearts. If we don't know how to actually unify the divine masculine and feminine aspects within our own selves. Because during the expanded state of awareness I briefly mentioned earlier in this story, I was literally seeing the expression of what I was referring to as the fearful and faithful in the form of black, white, and gray. For the gray is most easily polluted and manipulated by the dark, which taints the white in the painting schemata that create the color gray, quite literally. And then it is reflective as well of the law of polarity concept within this place of duality, where it is always about dueling because it was always feudal, where futile the road to hell or back to Rome, which is the reality of my empowerment when I take responsibility to actually govern not just the outer realm of life around me and the life that I live and lead, but the life within me, as in the soul, the whole aspect of me that makes it all go faster was what came to mind. I would have added, which is like the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland that says, it's time. And I can't tell you how many times in the 5 years it took to write the book that rewrote me before the world got to see it, which is the screenshot for this video. Fully Committed, the Sacred Sojourn of Now is about the hero's journey from a spiritual perspective as we transform. And at that time I published it, I literally didn't realize the major arcana reflected the hero's journey as legitimately as it does until right after I published it. Otherwise, I would have tried to bring that into the first one, and it wasn't time yet, because now is the time, which is what this book about the real story of Rome is about. It is time. The time is now. The new orderly world, the newly ordered world, however you want your now to be spelt, recognize it as a spell. And we are the ones who would do well or be well served to be more conscientious of how we make our investments. It's very important for us to really be clear. It's really important for us to be clear. Whether it's claircognizant, clairsentient, clairvoyant, what is your clair? And how clair are you? How clear are you? Clear, that's what it is about. Clear knowing, clear sensing, clear smelling, clear hearing, clear speaking. It matters. 2222. It matters if we know how to communicate, because communication is at the foundation of community. If we don't know how to communicate, well then the community will suffer, and especially if we do not know how to resolve the personality conflicts within our communities. Communication is what will shift the mark. And so I'll start making the announcement that the 3/3 of man, the Trinity, that we are is the body, soul, and spirit. For if you are the it that's being speared, that would be how the soul of the ones supplanted with the soul of the corpse, who's part of the one world order that follows a hierarchy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The white rabbit lies when he says, it's time, with such urgency because of how distressing it is for the nervous system. Whoa. Do you ever rattle? You should. It breaks up energy. But I shouldn't. Should anybody, given that is imposing my expectations, will, wishes, desires, things I believe work best for me. But to impose it onto you would just be to offer advice, would it not? And adding vice is not nice if the vice grip is too hard. If it is too much, it's not nice. It's painful because it's full of pain, the experience. Ish, not how we gain trust between one another, which is what we must do now. The ostriches that have been publicized in the pronunciation or the pronouncement that they were to be culled, the herd of 399 ostriches, which have survived the H1N5, which is the later version of H1N1, from what I understand from a conversation with Jim Kerr last month when he went out there in order to ensure that bullies weren't able to cause harm to the herd that have survived for 3 months now. And now it's being claimed that their eggs may be carriers of a virus when I am making a public call out for any medical professionals or people who are willing to come to the table in order to share a theory or concept that you are willing to have challenged, because that is what is required. If we are not willing to be challenged and we just automatically get defensive about the information that we are sharing, is it really ours and is it really true? Or have we just become really attached to that way of delivering that story? We have to be willing to be challenged. And what we must actually challenge publicly now is the no virus theory, which has had the label of conspiracy theory put to it in order to disqualify or to berate those who actually say there is no such thing as viruses generally, when we understand what viruses actually are. And I say vi is for life in French, and then rus is when we start to rust because of oxidization of life. So when oxidization of life occurs, a degradation of health then follows suit, because now we are experiencing the degradation of our life force energy. And that is the greatest commodity that any of us have for our life force energy, is literally our energetic resources. Time, energy, effort, attention, and money are the energetic resources that we have access to in life. And our vital life force essence is basically how much energy we have access to in a health way. But I just realized I have an appointment that is to go inward in a body talk session that is going to begin in 4 minutes. So I'm going to send big love. I'm going to say that if you know a doctor or medical professional or alternative practitioner who is willing to actually come to the table and have a conversation about the complex situation that we're in and how the ostriches symbolically reflect the people who stick their heads in the sand, now being saved by or protected by those who are willing to stand up for the victim, the one that is not able to or cannot speak for themselves. The ones who are willing are stepping forward and investing their team in order to ensure the herd are protected. And it's not so dissimilar from herd mentality that says the strong are supposed to weaken themselves in order to make the weak feel better, which is just absolutely insane. We need our warriors strong, and we also need to ensure that the warriors know how not to fight. When we are being challenged to actually take a stand, use our hand, and command our pen to say what we mean instead of be mean with what we say. And either way, if we're mean to one another, we just cause harm and perpetuate a problem. And if we don't say what we mean, then we're going to be left carrying those words because we wonder what would have happened if we had have spoken them. So the time is now for us to really get clear about the fact that the ostriches symbolically are reflective of us as a society. And what we really would be well served to do is take up our hand, to command our pen to claim the principal position within our own life and say this is not acceptable, and those who actually execute orders and the birds as a result are literally going to pay a very hefty karmic consequence for your soul by having a role in terroristic behavior, because that's all it is when terror is designed to undermine the man or woman with something of value that can be taken by pirates, whether legal or privateer. And that is what I am talking about in the manuscript that I will have ready by end of month is the intention. And so if I didn't mention it already, join on Telegram, Peaceful Inner Warriors United Assembly. I hadn't mentioned it, but I'm conscious I gotta go because of the time. So join over on Telegram. We have great conversations there. It's where I am most active within the online realm, outside of sharing messages here occasionally. But that's because my team is precious, and leaking energy into the ethers while I need to be channeling it into my creative baby that I am working on birthing now is my priority. So I hope that you are lit up and passionate about something in your world too. And I send love. Have a great day. Love a day. Namaste. Namago.